Hey everybody, let's go ahead and go through this KMEA All-State music. And I don't know if anybody's online right now or you're going to watch this later possibly, but please use the chat area and let me know if there's any problems with the sound. I'm going to just do a very quick test with my headphones to just make sure that my sound is working here with my microphones. I might lower these levels just a little bit and I'll back the camera up a little bit. Let me go ahead and I'll just get the camera set up for us a little bit better. Okay, I think that should do it. Let's go ahead and start. So we have for the Kentucky Music Educators Association 2021-22 auditions this year on alto saxophone. We have the Fairling Studies, number 33 is the slow one, and the faster one is the one in C sharp minor and number 32. So let's go ahead and get into this a little bit. So we're looking at around 72. So let me get my metronome up here. And I'll just go ahead and play it for you once. This is my eighth note is going to get a beat on this. Let me just clear up my sound a little bit. I just jumped over from making the clarinet video and I just didn't even warm up my saxophone yet. So my low C does not speak 100% easy on this horn, but there are a lot of other things I like about this horn, so it's a fantastic horn. So on this particular piece, we're going to play eighth notes getting a tap, and so let's maybe work on some rhythms, and then we can also work on a little bit on some sound. And maybe touch on vibrato. And if you have any questions or anything, just please put them in the chat and we'll see what we come up with. So on the rhythm, the 30-second notes in the second bar are going to be kind of 4 to a beat. And in the third bar, I've heard people make the mistake of playing the 16th notes the same way. So make sure those are half that value. So bar 2 into 3. I play those grace notes in bar 4 with my biz key, and so we can touch base on B flats. B flat can be just with the first key, first finger on the first B key, but also as well as on the biz key, the little small key like that. We also can play a B flat 1, 2, and the side B flat like that. So those are our two primary ways to play the B flat on the saxophone. You can also use a 1 and a 1 like this. It's not 100% advisable all the time, but it's available as more of a flute fingering. And occasionally on the clarinet, we'll use that for certain passages. In fact, in the slow piece this year on the clarinet, it's available. It's actually quite good for that B flat if it works on the clarinet. I put my grace notes towards the end of that bar, as opposed to being exactly measured. And I also want to combine it with a little bit of a dynamic change there. I think that what's going to make people get differentiated in this piece is mostly their control of the dynamics. I'm starting oftentimes the first note of the piece with no tongue on the reed. So if you can get some control to basically form your embouchure, I form, let me kind of go through this a little bit. I form the saxophone embouchure by saying the letter V. And when I see the beginning of V like this, I let the neck strap just fall into my mouth, and I close the corners. Now, there's a lot of variability that can happen on a saxophone embouchure. Essentially, you're just wanting the reed to be resting on the lower lip, which is then resting on the teeth. We say, sometimes I hear people say, roll the lip over the teeth. And if you do too much rolling over the teeth, you'll end up having like that, and it ends up muffling the reed. So I find the easiest way to get a good balance is just to say the letter V, like that. And that just gets just enough lip over the teeth. You close your corners. The corners need to be kind of involved a little bit. I use the word involved instead of tight or biting, because they just have to be engaged a little bit. In fact, the upper muscles over the top of the mouthpiece wrap as well. So it's not a full pressure equally around the mouthpiece, absolutely not. But the reed is sitting on the lip, and then these remaining parts of the muscles of the lips that are not touching the reed are helping to I guess I'm going to treat them like a live person. They're available for us to humor and tweak and sort of manage the different sounds and colors and notes ranges. So it's not just that we set the mouthpiece in our mouth and close our mouth and that's it. We leave it. So when I'm playing any note, actually, if I change the pressure of my top lip, I'm just having all of this be a cushion, I guess is the best word I can also think of. Then it allows me to play vibrato. It allows me to play darker and brighter sounds. It allows me to play altissimo. So all kinds of sounds that are available to us. Okay, so we talked briefly about rhythm. I think we can talk about vibrato. As I work with students in public schools periodically, I find that I need to come up with real quick explanations rather than a sort of bigger academic explanation. So the quick explanation for vibrato is, once you form the embouchure, say wah, wah, wah with the lower lip. And a good exercise can be to put your metronome on 60, like this, play quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes. And you just gradually gain some control of that, the variation of the sound. Let's go ahead over to the other etude. So this is the one in C sharp minor. Now this one, the tempo is kind of very, very fast. And so I think at this tempo, which is 80, this is going to be quite rapid. And those bar 17, 18, and 19 with the trills, those are going to get kind of really plowed through. So let me just pull that slower again. And again, apologies, I just came from making the clarinet video. So at the faster tempo, even if it's not at 80, say we pull it down to 60, like this, I'm probably going to only have room for one trill, and then put the grace notes in there. thing, we can be super precise with our metronome, with our practicing, with our organizing of our practicing. By the way, practice every day. That's maybe a given, but it's not a given. It's good to be reminded of that. We develop more if we practice every day a little bit or a lot, as opposed to practicing once every 3 or 4 days. We do much better if we develop that consistency. Things start to click, and things start to ideas start to come together and formulate. So let's see if we can be so the idea of being super precise with with our practicing and organized. But the other idea that I like to think about is take your metronome away and really just use your ear and your instincts a little bit. And in this case, what I find is that bar 17, 18, and 19 can almost feel a little bit behind, so I have to almost anticipate them. Why? Because as I get this etude up to a certain tempo, they need to feel like they're part of the next bar. So you can almost put a crescendo into those. So if I put them together, and if you just take a pause there for a second, maybe not a real pause, but decrescendo that A enough that you can catch your breath, reset everything, and then take a nice big breath from down below, then you can go and continue. Let's go and finish this out. The last line, this piece only, the excerpt they want for this audition only goes up to bar 32. So I would say that bar 29, after that descending scale, we want to go ahead and practice that as well, because you have some very large register leaps. For the large register leaps, I really do focus in on playing those low notes. So let's go ahead and play the last line. And maybe I'm saying something that not everybody agrees with, but I do find when playing the saxophone that there is a absolute certain level of flexibility. I am not moving around a lot, but I am definitely moving around a little bit. So much even that I'm almost kind of shifting sometimes my positioning of where my top teeth are on the mouthpiece, ever so slightly. And the same thing with the pressure of the lower lip, the pressure of my upper lip are wrapping around the mouthpiece, the ability to use these corners. So in a simple way, I'm using the word voicing or shaping of the note, or feeling what the note feels like. I anticipate what those notes feel like before I play them. And that way, when I go to play from a high note down to a very low note, I'm kind of pre-thinking right away what that low note is going to feel like. So when I blow my air, everything shapes to produce that low note. Let's go ahead and maybe play we'll try the whole thing. See if we can get this sounding kind of musical. And I'm going to go ahead and change reeds out a little bit too. I'm going to see if I get a reed that has a little bit less buzzy sound on it. So let me try that real quick and see if this will work. Let's see how this goes. And this reed is a little bit light for me, but essentially that's what we have here. So let's go ahead and play it a little bit slower. If I do it at a tempo like that, it reminds me that when the music is saying to articulate notes, I'm not really hitting them hard. It's a very light pressure on the reed, like a a da, da, da almost. And I'm really using the very tip of my tongue just under the tip of the reed. Now, when I get to 17 with those trills, I need to really use my air. And so now it says, thankfully, forte, which gives me a nice sort of ability to blow into that note and the trills and the grace notes and get the upper notes to speak well. So let's go ahead and try this all at a slower tempo. So let's see what else we can talk about. I think that the biggest challenge I'm going to hear when I've heard these auditions live with students is that, and also working with students throughout this year, in fact, is going to be a choice of tempo. And then once the choice of tempo is there, don't worry about playing it at 80. You can start to utilize your dynamics and shape these little lines. So if we take it at a slower tempo, I was trying to do things like this. So you kind of lead into them a little bit. I don't want to do too much, but over time, as the piece gets faster under your fingers, you're able to negotiate these passages a little bit better. Your speed can increase, and if your speed can increase, these dynamic changes can be a little bit more subtle. So at a little bit faster tempo, and probably the dynamic changes would be apparent even just by tonguing the note, just articulating the beginnings of the notes. Let's see. So just by articulating, you feel a little bit of the bom, da, dum, da, 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 dum. Let's see if I can get any other thoughts in here real quick. I would suggest practicing bars 29, 30, 31, and 32 a lot because those are the end of the piece, and that's what you're going to leave the listener with. So, and probably that first G sharp in bar 29. I would really, really give a good emphasis on those notes to feel the meter. Bum, chick, bum, bum, chip, ba, da, 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 dum, bum, bum. Now, if you want to play with the tempo a little bit of a retard at the ends of some phrases, very, very, very slight, that can be okay. Things like that. But be very cautious about doing too much of that. I think that I'm not saying to not play musically. Absolutely, play musically, add some dynamics, add some very subtle, kind of retards at the ends of phrases if it's very subtle. But ultimately, this is an excerpt or a piece of an entire etude or study. And so remember that it goes on forward, and we're not playing the other part of it right now, but it would go forward. So it's a demonstration of technical development. It's a demonstration of a particular key signature that you're able to play in the key. Okay, so please let me know if you all have any questions on this one. And I wish everybody good luck. And I'm going to try to do another quick little check-in with you all this weekend before your auditions for next week. And thanks again. Good luck, everybody.